The 25th Hour Radio Show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour Radio Show today. I am your host, Rob Fairless, and on the phone I have artist and poet Akiane Kramarik. Akiane, thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So, Akiane, just like every other show I've done, I want to start off giving my listeners a little background information about you. And I know you've told this story more than a few times in other interviews, but could you explain to my listeners how it all began for you as far as your art is concerned and why you started painting?
Well, it all started at 4 years of age. At the time, I began expressing my dreams and the visions that I was having through drawing. And I utilized whatever medium I found on hand, candles, fruits, vegetables, charcoal, even pencils, and that grew into a very powerful passion for me. And then at 6, I began experimenting with color pastels, and at 7 with acrylics. And so right when I turned 8, I just completed my first 5-foot-long oil painting. And right afterwards, I was recognized by the Oprah Winfrey show, and I was invited. And at 10, HarperCollins published my first book. And afterwards, my story rapidly circled the world. And here I am talking with you.
Yeah, you know, speaking of the Oprah Winfrey show, now I know you were young, but do you remember or have your parents told you how you came to be a part of that show? I mean, did the show contact you or did someone submit your works to the show?
It was like a very, I was still young, so I didn't know the full details, but it turns out that it was a combination of a lot of things. It was, first of all, my mom sent out a letter 2 years before, and somehow across the details, my agent at the time was contacted by Oprah, and the two and two came together, and they were looking for gifted prodigies. And so he suggested me to be represented, and that's how it came about.
Now, being a guest on Oprah really put you into the limelight globally. Has it been easy for you transitioning, you know, going through your teenage years, being so well known, or have you struggled in any way with your fame?
You know, personally, it was quite very natural for me to share my story with, you know, one day going on stage for 5,000 people and then coming back home and being with my family. It was very natural for me. It wasn't no sugarcoating, that was just who I was. But there was at times where, you know, making friends was a bit difficult because they would portray me in a different limelight, and they would not necessarily friend me as Akiane. They would, you know, want to be friends with me because I was this spotlight in the spotlight. So it was challenging, you know, at times. But now I'm finding out that there's many beautiful people around the world, so I just have to stick with the positive people.
Now that you're an adult, can you yourself look back on your own story and find the amazement in it? I mean, do you ever just sit and think, you know, why me?
This is very interesting because actually, quite recently when I'm actually currently writing a screenplay and going to be co-directing a feature film about my story. So I did have to go back throughout my whole entire life, and not just my life, how my parents came together and how my whole brothers came into the world. And going through that timeline, I had to go and kind of take all the bits and pieces from my parents' memories and my brother's memories and how it was and how I remembered, and I was putting it together into the screenplay. And this now I'm realizing how absolutely what a roller coaster ride it was, and how blessed I am to be in this situation. So it was quite honoring, to be honest, and quite shocking.
You know, I can't think of a better person to have been given the gift you have, because you have been so so grounded and humble, and you give back to the world as much as you can with your charity work. How do you decide on which charitable organizations you want to participate in? Do you have a select few that's near and dear to your heart?
This is actually one of the, for me, is one of the hardest to do because, to be honest, like if there was a person or organization who would contact us, I almost 100% of the time I would participate with them, and I probably participate over like 200 or 300 internationally. And to be honest, I think every single one of them are really close to me. I don't think I could choose a specific one, but there was the Smile Network is actually also one of my favorites, where they perform surgeries for cleft lips and cleft palates in children, and so they could regain a smile. And I think giving a smile to a child is extremely precious, and I think I'm very honored to be a part of that. And there's medical teams, Northwest medical teams I'm a part of, and there's many international cancer foundations, and there's a lot that I don't know if I can pick a favorite.
I put you on the spot with that one. I'm sorry. Now your talents have given you the opportunity to work in different parts of the world, and I think right now you have a new studio in Chicago, right?
Yes, I just moved here about 2 months ago, and I was born not too far from here, so it's almost coming back home in a sense.
So what brought you to Chicago as far as setting up the studio?
It was actually a quite long process. After 5 years of traveling around the world to 26 countries and living in 4 different countries, just only a year, 6 months ago, I was in Australia, and then I moved to Los Angeles. And I think it was after Los Angeles that I decided to come to Chicago due to the fact it was, I just wanted to return to where it all started and just almost have that sense of coming back home. And I think, everybody says there's no place like home, and I think I feel that that sentence. I feel it, and it truly is the truth. So I'm glad to be back.
Now I'm curious. Now that you're a little bit older and have your own studio, are your work hours still the same? Because you used to get up at 4 a.m. and paint. Has that changed in any way? Because that's awful early. For me it is anyway.
Actually, it changed a little bit. I think it used to be 4 o'clock, but now I think I'm getting up a little bit earlier. Because
earlier?
I don't know. I think my body is wanting me to get up earlier. It's 3 o'clock or 2:30, but I work about 6 hours now, 7 hours. I used to work 4, but I think for some reason, as I'm getting older, the more I'm in my studio, the more I don't want to get out of my studio because I just feel the time just stops. And, when you're in that mood, in that mode, I don't think that everything, it's so exciting in the studio. I love it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to say you were going to get up earlier. I thought maybe you was going to tell me, well, I get up a little bit later since I've gotten a little older, but.
It's very hard for me to comprehend when someone says, "Oh, I slept in," but I don't know what sleeping in means. Maybe 4 o'clock would be my sleeping in.
What I also find interesting is, unlike a lot of people your age, it doesn't seem like all your free time is devoted to social media, even though you have social media. Am I correct in saying that? Are you one of the few people who isn't all caught up in it?
It's very interesting because I do have my Facebook, and I just launched my Instagram, and it's just very. I do, absolutely. I do keep everybody, up to date on my new paintings and what's going on. But there is a part of me that is very true, and I think it's the real life, social respect and social aspects of that. I think for me to meet people in real life and to speak with them in real life is more important to me. I know it's very, important. Social media is very important, but to me as an artist, I really love contacting and speaking with people in person. But that's just kind of, I was brought up that way, and that's just kind of how I am. But Yes, I don't spend much time on social media.
Yeah.
I do.
So outside of your art and poetry, how do you spend your free time? Do you have any hobbies or things you enjoy doing just to get away from it all? I mean, most people hobbies are painting, but that's your job. I mean, do you have anything other than painting?
Oh, of course, absolutely. I love there's many things that I actually people would say it's work. I think it's more of my hobby, my passion. I'm writing music right now. I'm composing. I love cooking, and I love right now I'm learning different languages, and I'm learning cinematography, animation, and I love movies and music. And my favorites are concerts. I enjoy theater a lot. So of course, there's a lot of aspects of real life that I really enjoy.
So is there anything you're working on at the moment that your fans might be interested in? Any type of projects or announcements or anything like that?
It's very interesting that you mentioned this, because there are quite a few. This year, I hope to be publishing my third book that I'm almost finished with. And since I just moved to Chicago, there are some plans in making. I had a whole life. My whole life dream is to open up an Academy of Arts and Sciences, and I am hopefully, as I'm from Chicago, I'm searching for the right area to build or to create such a place. And in the meantime, like I probably mentioned this before, I'm also working on a feature movie as well. And there's just all sorts of projects that are around me. I never am bored, let's just say that.
Yeah, well, Akiane, I want to thank you once again for joining me on the show. If you want to know more about Akiane and her work, you can go to www.akiane.com, and that's spelled Akiane. It's been my pleasure speaking with you today.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.